Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Stephen A. Williams, president and founder of the creditrepairshop.com. Just came across this article when I was searching online. I'm always searching on there to see what's going on in the debt collection industry so we can use that information to help you out if you have debt and also to be able to fight back against them. Well, this is something that was a very interesting story that I found on a blog. It said U.S. debt collectors collection industry worth $15 billion. Pandemic did not hurt the business. And it says the $15 billion U.S. collection agency industry, like many others, was affected by the pandemic, but in a good way. The COVID-19 pandemic really didn't affect the industry that much since consumers cut spending, received stimulus checks, and enhanced unemployment benefits. So basically, what they're saying is that people were paying the debts, if they had collections out there. Now, I'm pretty sure that this is a mixture of legitimate debt where they were hired to go out there and collect debt for companies. What I'm mainly focused on is collecting debt that was purchased from original creditors. That's what my whole focus is on. Before I get to the other article about uh, what debt collectors can and can't do to you, uh, according to the FTC, which I want to review that. I've done it in another video, but it's like a thin line. I want to go over that just so you can know, because you could be getting abused by them and you don't even know it. Here goes top dirt in from this blog here. It says top 6 things to know about the debt collection industry. So it says the debt collection market size, market data estimates the U.S. collection agency revenue grew just 2.7% to 14.99 billion. That's a lot of money. I don't care 2%. You don't say only when it's in the billions. And here, industry consolidation. Yeah, I've noticed this that a lot of the debt collection companies are consolidating, and this is happening mainly because some of them were caught, uh, you know, uh, doing some bad things, and they got sued, and they couldn't afford to either pay the judgment that was set against them, or they were really part of other companies and people didn't even know it. And that's what I'm thinking with this blog. A lot of people who write about debt collection companies, they really don't even know that all of these companies are part of the same company. And if they end up, closing one or absorbing one, they're really absorbing themselves. They just put out these different agencies in different states. So if one gets in trouble, they're able to shut that one down, pay the fine, move on with their other ones, and open up another LLC. They're also stating here that competition is fierce. We know that because, when you're out there and most people don't understand their rights about paying a debt, debt collectors feel like it's like a kid in a candy store. They buy the old debt, send out some letters. A certain percentage of those people don't even know if they really owed the debt or not. Some of them are going to be foolish and they're just going to pay it because they maybe don't want anything to affect their credit. Maybe they're in the process of buying a home, in the process of getting a new car, and they don't want to screw up the interest rates on those. Or their kid is about to go to college and they don't want to screw up that, so they'll pay, a debt that's probably not even theirs, or one that they didn't even know because they didn't know their rights, that is past the legal statute of limitations to collect. So debt collectors know that. So it's a fierce competition on number one, buying the debt. Like that's where they're really competing. They're not competing against getting people to pay the debt. They're competing against making bids to buy the old debt. That's where the competition is. Okay, and then it says here the competitive landscape, the 50 largest companies in the industry captured 52% of revenues, which you would think that, but I'm pretty sure that this blog writer does not understand that these companies are really all the same. A lot of them are the same. And then we'll go down here. Says here major debt collection industry trends emphasize on the importance of consolidation, decline in profits. Well, this is could be mainly due to where they're can't do certain things that they used to be able to do. Emergence of artificial intelligence in collections, where they're using tracing, with the bureaus are using tracing to find where you're at. They're using tracing to see potential where your uh, uh, income is, to try to see if you even would be able to pay it. So there's a lot of things, and then there's also compliance issues. So it says here that increased compliance pressures from the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act, and then a shortage of skilled collectors. Like, one thing you got to give it to them. One thing you got to give it to them is that debt collection people, the ones that are good, they're good at uh, getting people emotional on the phone, and they're good at going back and forth to get people to pay. So I'm pretty sure that a lot of those people maybe are going into other industries, or like, why deal with this when I can do something else and put my talents to something else. And then the growth of debt buying and moving collections offshore. Well, I don't think that this is going to last very long with that part. Debt buying, that's something that's going to always keep increasing. Then it says debt collection market share. Five large collection companies are estimated to have generated $3.5 billion 2021, a 6.8% increase over the levels. They kind of just contradicted themselves with something they said earlier. Um, this 3.5 billion represents 23% of the total industry revenues. Only two of the five companies are public. Encore Capital and Portfolio Recovery Associates, which if you say Portfolio Recovery Associates, that's going to also be like 5 or 6 LLCs that are attached to that there. And then you got LVNV, you got all of these other companies that are out there. So let's move over to what debt collectors can and cannot say, and I'm going to break it down for you. So it says this is from the FTC.gov website. It says how to spot an abusive debt collector. Reason why I want to go over this is, when a debt collector is being abusive, because when anyone is being abusive to you, if they're outwardly abusive. But there's some things that you need to be aware of when you're dealing with debt collectors, where you may not think that it's abusive, but it actually is. So here are some of the ones in general, and one of them that I'm going to elaborate a little bit more on. So first, they can't threaten to hurt you. Obviously, they can't threaten to hurt you. Cannot use obscene or profane language. Obviously, they can't. But this one right here is the one that I think a lot of people don't pay attention to. They can't repeatedly call you. And I know that this is the gray area when we're dealing with this. So you might be saying, Steve, what do you mean they can't repeatedly call you? Is it one time a week, 2 times a week, 3 times a week? There's actually no uh, set in stone amount of times that they can call you. But from what I've seen, a debt collector can really, to not make it seem abusive, they can only really call you one time a month. Now, you may have debt collectors that might call you weekly, they might call you daily, which you should always make them send a cease and desist communications by phone and make them send everything in writing. But I believe that they are only, and it's not written anywhere, but I would say that if they call you more than once a month, that it is harassment and that you should file a complaint. Now, the next thing is debt collectors cannot lie, can't lie. Cannot tell you that you owe a different debt amount than what you actually owe. And this is something that a lot of people don't know. Like, they'll get something and the debt collector says you owe this amount, and they send a paper and it has another amount. Or they sent the paper before, when they send you that 30-day letter, and then when you're talking on the phone, it's another amount. That is a violation. They cannot do that. And you can actually file a complaint with them, number one, because they violate the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act, and then you file a complaint with whoever licensed debt collectors in your state. And I'm pretty sure that debt would end up going away. Next thing is, debt collectors may not pretend to be attorney or from the government. And this happens with a lot of companies where they'll pretend to be an attorney or they'll pretend to be with the government to try to scare people. Again, you need to ask them up front, are you an attorney? Because they may say, well, an attorney from our office is going to do this, 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 and this. You can ask them straight up, are you an attorney? And then that attorney, by law, has to make that so-called threat to you that they're going to take you to court and sue you. And if they don't actually take you to court and sue you, that's a violation. So all of these are like subtle things, except for the ones that are more like profane language and threaten to hurt you. Those are like outright violations. But these other ones are violations that debt collectors get away with all the time, every day. So you need to be aware of them. Debt collector cannot tell you that you're going to be arrested. They can't claim to take legal action against you if it's not true. And I just said that there. They cannot claim to take legal action against you if it's not true that they're going to take legal action against you. And my my litmus test for this on if they claim that they're going to sue you is that if they don't sue you within 30 days, you should file a complaint. I know that this seems crazy. It seems like, Steve, why would you tell me to file a complaint if they didn't sue me? Aren't they going to just go ahead and sue me? Well, and it is a gray area. This is why it's like some of this stuff needs to be settled in the courts. But they cannot threaten to sue you if they're not going to sue you. But if you say to them, I'm filing a complaint because you didn't sue me, and you claim that you were going to sue me, wouldn't their next step be to go ahead and sue you? Well, some of the reasoning behind not going ahead to sue an individual is because they actually do the skip tracing, which I talked about earlier, to see people's financial situation, to see if it's going to be worth suing them, because they don't want to sue people if they're not going to get anything. They're going to lose money. They're going to have to pay to, number one, file it, and then number two, if they're hiring debt collectors that are not working on a commission or some type of fee-based type deal, then they're going to lose money. So, this is a choice that you're going to have to make if you find yourself in this situation. But if you know that your situation will not warrant them to be able to come after you for a lawsuit, then you may be able to have this whole debt canceled by filing that complaint with them saying that they did not intend to really sue you. And there's been court cases where uh, one a lady was sued. Well, she sued a debt collector because they sent a letter to her employer to just find out her situation, and then they went and filed a lawsuit afterwards. And that is actually a violation. They have to just say that they're going to sue you off of what they have. They can't just try to get all of this. Well, they do it, but they're not supposed to go back around and contact people that your job and all this stuff to try to make a determination if they're going to go ahead and sue you. But I admit that that's a very, very, very gray area. Next thing is uh, collectors cannot treat you unfairly. For example, may not try to collect interest, fees, or other charges on top of the amount you owe unless the original contract or state law says they can. Most states do not allow them to do it. And then even if they do allow them to do it, they have a cap on it. But that cap on there is very shaky because when you do your debt validation with the original with the debt collector, and they try to go get information from the original creditor, which you're not going to be able to get the information from the original creditor, and they've already tacked on those fees, and they don't really have a solid number on what you owed. They could be breaking the law simply by doing that. That's why you're starting to see, well, we've been seeing this for years. debt collectors are not adding on any, and they're actually stating it in their court summons that they're not adding on any fees to the debt, that they'll try to get the judgment and then they'll add on the state allowed fees on the judgment. Another thing, if you decide to pay a debt collector for a debt that you owe, you know you owe it, and you're going to pay it, you want to be able to move forward, and you post date a check, they cannot deposit that check earlier than the date that's on the check. A lot of people had did this in the past where they would say, you know, debt collector would be like, we're gonna get off of your case, but you know, you're gonna make 4 monthly payments and you need to give us 4 checks. We're gonna post date them 1 month apart. You put the post date each month. And then all of a sudden, lo and behold, they raided the individual's account by putting all the checks in there at one time. The reason why this was wrote into the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act is because debt collectors were doing it. As soon as they got the money, they were like, let's just put them in. What are they going to do? Just put them in. What are they going to do? We need to get our money. Well, they can't do that, and it's actually part of it's part of law now that they can't do it. Next thing, they can't publicly share your debts, including sending postcards or putting information on envelopes. Ha ha ha. Have you seen them do that? Have you ever received a postcard from a debt collector? Say, hey, we're trying to get in touch with you for this debt that you owe. They cannot. They're revealing your personal data about your debt. Share that with any third parties. They cannot even share with a third party that's mailing out the postcards for them. That's against the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act. A lot of people don't know that. They can't put on an envelope, open immediately because of a debt or whatever, or collection notice. Remember in the old days, they used to do that. I say the old days, the early 2000s and the 90s. They used to throw that stuff on envelopes. They cannot do that anymore. So this is some very good information. And when you're being contacted by a debt collector, you need to make sure that you refer to this video or write these notes down, because there are subtle things that they can do that are violations that can actually make that debt go away if you put it on record that they violated. And when I say put it on record, you notify them and you notify whatever division in your state manages the license for debt collectors. All right, I'm going to end the video here. This is Stephen A. Williams, president and founder of the creditrepairshop.com. If you need help with your credit, please watch the video, What Makes Us Different. Go to my website, thecreditrepairshop.com. Watch the video, What Makes Us Different, where you can see my 8-point validation process, my 2-phase settlement process. If you need your credit reports and scores, go to the website, your3scores.com. You'll get all 3 credit reports, all 3 scores, all the information, furnishers, addresses, everything that's on record. Public records also. If you need help with debt collectors, you can try using my 3-pack of letters, my statute of limitations letter, to stop debt collectors that are trying to collect debts that's past legal statute of limitations or the time barred period. Cease and desist collection activities letter to stop debt collectors who don't have all the information to collect the debt from you. That'll still try. And number 3, my debt validation letter, which you'll use in conjunction with the cease and desist collection activities letter if a debt collector tries to continue coming after you. If you have debt collectors trying to sue you in court, there's a link below here. You have my court summons response, where we can write a response for you to a third-party debt collector to try to stop them from either suing you or to at least give you the opportunity to defend yourself in court. This is a pro se service. This is where you're going in representing yourself. We are not attorneys on this. And I think that's it. There's other links below for other services that we have. Thank you for your time. Please like this video. Please ask your questions, post your comments. Thank you again. This is Stephen A. Williams, president and founder of thecreditrepairshop.com.